Hi there, avid viewers, and congratulations for making it along to the 5th of June, exactly 4 pm episode of this Wastecast series. Covered lots of different topics, all of them have been fantastic, wouldn't you agree? And don't you think that it's great that I'm raising awareness about mental health and covering in a vlog my journey through this tumultuous signet system of various different administrative and clerical protocols which have affected me in various ways. I'm not going to waffle. Well, I am, of course I am. That's all I do in these, and that's why you watch them. That's why you love them. I'm not going to talk too long about my time in mental hospital because it's just a bit shit, you know. I haven't had my papers. And there is no law that says you can get your section papers. They can just not give them to you and say that you have to put in an SAR, and it's just really long and rubbish. And I don't know if everything's being done right because I'm not allowed to record my ward rounds. But anyway, I'm not sure what to talk about today, and I don't want to be kind of awkward, bimbling fuckhead because no one really wants to sit on YouTube watching that. Still haven't received any direct messages or comment requests from, let's see how many views we got yesterday, people. This is going to be exciting. I got, in total yesterday, I got another 21 views from 19 hours ago. Can't quite see that because the camera's so shit, but that's brilliant. I might go live, I might walk to the shops and go live on some social media platforms, but what else should I do? Maybe I should turn the top light off. Do you reckon I should turn the top light off, people? That's a yes, let's try that. I'll look a bit better without the top light on. Just using the ring light, you see. There you go, you can see my poor skin and my scars. This scar's quite interesting. I was in, it's on my YouTube channel, before I started using YouTube really. I was in sort of temporary accommodation in Southall, and the people decided they wanted it back, but I hadn't been given by Westminster Council anywhere else that I could go and live. So they came and sort of boarded up the property. They waited for me to leave in the evening. But I didn't want to go into the sort of lockdown zone, into the contagion zone, and they hadn't sort of like found me forwarding accommodation, so they put me up for a night, and I'd sort of said, well, where am I supposed to go? Am I supposed to get a call from a social worker or something like this? They've put me into temporary accommodation because I was street homeless that night on the streets of London. For one reason or another, I'd just been to the MI6 and MI5 buildings, but I'm not James Bond, and that's another story. Looks a bit like I'm gurning. Kind of got like rippling, shape-shifting teeth muscles. Anyway, I went to London and I opened a window, a bit like nothing like the windows here, like a sort of a square window at the top of some double glazing, and poked my head in and said, "Bruv, what are you doing?" And he'd come to change the locks and screw all the double glazing shut, so that nobody could open any of it in case I decided I was going to try and stay there. I sort of said, "What are you doing?" And he fucking jabbed me in the head with a screwdriver, which is why I've got this beautiful little scar. So if you come and see me, make sure you can see the guy with the little indentation on his head. Had blood dripping out of my head from his kind of cordless incident. I think I did provoke the guy, in fairness to him. I was a little bit kind of like fuck offy towards him, but I didn't tell him to fuck off. He certainly told me to fuck off though. Anyway, let's read some news and get this fucking charade over with. Please come and see me. And I don't just mean like any one person, I just mean everybody that I know. I'm in Essex, which is fucking miles away, but it'll be so worth the mission. And you get to see everybody else who's here as well, if you want. You can meet the nurses and the staff and all the good, lovely people who work here, and the other patients who will say hello to you in passing, hello, in the corridor. And I know that blows quite a lot, and that might feel like a kind of like complete degradation of your kind of like self-esteem and your kind of like self-worth, and you might feel that coming into mental hospital, or spending any time sort of in a building or a place of incarceration is kind of like quite emotionally challenging or sort of viscerally kind of unpleasant for you. Certainly I wouldn't want to come here if I was I don't know, like, what do they do? Is there I got sectioned for the first time in 2012, I think, July the 27th 2012, if I remember correctly, and I did attend CAMS like when I was a kid, Child Acute Mental Health Services, and that was like a group therapy once a week. We just used to eat loads of biscuits and toast over at somewhere called the Atrium in Torbay Hospital in Devon, which is like just sort of near Torbay Hospital building. I can't remember any of the people that I met there. If anyone remembers me from the Atrium, from the CAMS meeting on Tuesday morning, group therapy, used to eat biscuits and toast, please get in touch, because I'd love to find out. I lost my memory when I was about 16 or 17, and ended up spending 2 weeks in a ward in Torbay Hospital in Devon, this is in England, called Beach Ward. And I don't know what happened. I don't know how I ended up there. I think I got spiked at a party. I had long hair at the time, and everybody was kind of asking me to reiterate things about my life, and I forgot that this had happened for a long time. After I'd kind of gained my memory back, I sort of returned back to my flat in Exeter where I lived, and I went to college. And then after about 5 years, I'd forgotten that this event had ever happened, and there was kind of huge parts of my memory that were missing. Anyway, this is all just neurological, scientific, medical history horseshit. But if anyone knew me around that time and can tell me what happened to me, that would be really useful, or explain why you just didn't mention it for 20 years or 15 years. I wouldn't mind that at all. And there's a few other small, minor issues that would probably be quite useful for everyone to address. What's it saying on my phone then? Apart from that, I've got a wonky eye. Am I more in focus if I go back? I'm blurry if I go close, aren't I? Am I? I don't know. I think I'm more in focus if I go back. Trying to get myself in the centre. The Financial Times has got an article that says Earth's past its safe limits for humans, scientists say. I mean, I'm not going to read that article. It's got a picture of lots of smoke and forests. But it's past its safe limits for humans. I mean, that's quite serious, isn't it, really? I mean, as serious as anything is in environmental science, but I mean, how many times have we been given these kind of like stark warnings and ignored them? Dunno. I mean, lots of times. The problem is people give out bullshit information, don't they? And we know that, it's fucking obvious. There's always going to be lobbying parties that are going to be, the people that are selling the coal and the oil are going to be saying that there's peak oil, it's that oil's going to run out, do you know what I mean? And we're going to sell it for $100 a barrel more because it's going to run out in 5 years. And the people who say, that are selling renewable energy are always going to argue, they're a case that suits their narrative, and their ice core data and their kind of droplets per spherical inch of hydrocarbon quasma particles that people don't understand. Nobody really, the algae blooms in the global kind of water supply aren't really quantifiable by anybody, any more than quantum mechanics are. But one thing's for certain: if you follow the money, then the people with bags full of it are the people who are typically not missing out on all of that scientific research. Scientists, I once said, scientifics? I'm having a shit day at presenting today. Scientific research is a bit like prostitution or sex trafficking, in that scientists don't do unbiased research. They don't just get up in the morning and be like, hey guys, you know what, let's do 10 million quid's worth of research, to find the optimistic, unbiased outcome for this fucking thing that we're deciding to do. What they do is they get funded by a certain party that says, right, we want to prove this, right, and we're going to fund you to do research because our business or our research or our corporation or our most of the time, most scientific research is a bit like that. They just work to prove certain hypotheses that already exist, and that isn't. There's nothing wrong with that, in a sense, if they're trying to prove things that are good. But most of the time, what you find, especially with climate science, is that it's very one-sided. Clean air and all that. Architects and engineers need to work together to help to solve our two biggest crises. Well, yes, they do. The Architects Journal 4 days ago. Yes, they do. Scientists are stunned by mysterious structures found in the Milky Way. I had a Milky Way chocolate bar the other day. Someone gave to me in here. It's very small and dinky. Reminded me of my childhood. The fluffy inner centre was delicious, and I believe I stuffed a wrapper down the side of one of the grey leather sofas in the TV room, where they have a PS5 and a large TV behind a Perspex glass thing. Lots of sort of shit games that you can't play on it because they're all PS4 and PS3 games. Not that I play computer games. You need to watch the most chilling sci-fi dystopia on Amazon Prime as soon as possible. It's a picture of a guy that looks a bit like John Hurt, but it's not John Hurt. And I don't think anybody's going to watch it. Genotoxic warning, chemical found in common sweetener damages DNA. Well, we all know that aspartame's bad, don't we? I won't bang on about that. I'm way past that. What's it like to ride the new sleeper train to Berlin? I'm not going to do that. The Flash trailer, Henry Cavill Superman scene, and Batman Easter eggs breakdown. Oh, I'd like to watch Superman again. The new Supermans are all shit, aren't they? I mean, they're not shit, but they're not as good as the old ones. Not really. I don't know. Man of Steel is excellent, but it's a bit Star Trek. It's kind of it's sort of gone a bit. I don't know. Just the way it's shot, I didn't sort of like John Wick. The way John Wick is just cinematically excellent. Even if you don't like action movies, which I sort of don't really like. I prefer kind of sort of gritty, kind of not gritty, but I prefer cosplay, character cosplay, and thematic stuff rather than kind of Matrix, kind of super shooty, kind of I love that shit a bit, but not throughout the whole film. There's kind of Matt Hancock. What's he saying then? Some politics. Should we look at politics? I'm basically the Prime Minister now, which is shit. Matt Hancock apologises for MPs for a minor breach of code of conduct. UK Politics Live. A week's a long time in politics, isn't it, as they say? And you've got to be very careful of your image, and you have to be very, 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 very careful not to offend anybody in politics, because sort of kind of pituitary, emotionally restricted, naively optimistic fart masters believe that voting will affect. I used to use an analogy. Imagine if it was one person's life, right? And there was a brain surgeon, right? And you've got complex financial interdependent economics. You've got kind of like a massive deep state apparatus with like underground bunkers with like nuclear weapons and kind of like, you know, fusion reactors and kind of like all of the classified shit in the military to worry about, right? Which you can't tell anyone about in the budget. And you've got all of the military stuff and like all of the other shit that that nobody can, that even people with, you know, the PPE degrees, you know, the people at the MOD, and all of the kind of like gas and coal and you know, the water refineries, like everything that needs to run, right? You know, like the Serco shit, everything that needs to run. Imagine if everything was confined into 3 hemispheres, right? And it was like you had a panel of people watching, okay, right? So they're doing brain surgery and they've got a yellow bit, a green, a yellow bit, a blue bit, and a red bit, yeah? And like, and they're kind of like, they're looking down and they're asking a panel of like people reading copies of The Sun and the Daily fucking Mail and the Tory graph to decide how they're going to kind of like, you know, which bit of the brain. So one person's life's on the line here, you know. Socio-economic demographics affect swathes of people, loads and loads of people are affected by political decisions, which party gets in, supposedly, if you believe in the political illusion, which like I don't. Like I've never really voted, and I've never really thought that a Tory government or a Labour government is going to make any difference. And obviously they're not going to let plebs who have no idea about the kind of like, you know, secret space programs and kind of like, even just economics, like they wouldn't have the first fucking clue. Could you imagine if they would allow the plebs to just, I mean, sorry, I am a fucking pleb, you can see that, right? Like, but what I'm saying to you is, if you could, you know, could you imagine if they allowed them to vote in, like, a new government? They could just elect the monster raving loony party and the whole state would just run into disarray and a bunch of complete idiots would just be like, in control of all this like megalithically powerful structure that kind of like, you know, dominates half of Western Europe and has links to complex stuff all over the world and almost certainly off the world as well that nobody knows anything about. Do you know what I mean? It's just inconceivable to me. But anyway, I don't believe in politics, but you have to be very careful with the political image because I don't know anything about Matt Hancock. I don't know if he's a good politician or not because I've never read enough articles about him in his, you know, scandalous minor breaches of conduct. But you have got to be very careful because people will judge and your career. I've got a relative, I believe, a guy called Ian McLeod, who my dad was from Kenya. He went to school in a place called Eldoret in Kenya. And his name was Deorsa William John McLeod, that's Deorsa, and I believe this guy Ian Norman McLeod had a brother called Roderick McLeod who went to school just near my father. I believe when I was doing some research, I think they were cousins or something. I never met any of my dad's family. I never really knew my dad. But anyway, there was this guy called Ian Norman McLeod, and he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer under Edward Heath. And I believe he was the deputy chairman of the NHS for a bit. And he was Chancellor for the colonies. He gave back like loads of the African colonies to national rule, right? And then he came out and he said that he thought that the Magic Circle was ruling Westminster. And the Magic Circle is like a performance artist guild. Like, you know, now you see me, now you don't. Do you know what I mean? Like this kind of like, this isn't, they're not the Illuminati. They're not like fucking, you know, they're just puppet show, you know, kind of like smoke and mirrors shit. Anyway, his career went down the pan after that. I was reading all this stuff about this guy, and I was doing stuff like family research, trying to find out, you know, where my dad was and who my dad was, and I don't know that they were ever related, but he was from kind of like, I think he grew up in that region or something. And yeah, he's a very successful Conservative politician, but by all accounts, his career went down the pan. He wrote a book called Bridge is an Easy Game. His missus was named Evelyn and was made a Baroness MacLeod of Borv, I believe. Anyway, don't say controversial things like I do. If you want to work in politics, I'd make a shit politician. So I run my mouth too much. I've got too much of a stammer. I've got a lazy eye, which makes me look really shit. And I've got yellow teeth. And I'm fat as well now. I've got a bit of a double chin and a bit of a belly. What's going on here? Flop era. Don't like this. £1 million roofless Aston Martin V12 Speedster. Come on, where's some good news? The strangest moment of Ricky Gervais's career. All right, I like Ricky Gervais. I'll give him 5 minutes. We've got 20 minutes.
So when I was
No, it's not fucking adverts. Come on. I don't want to watch a video. I don't want to watch a video. Sorry, mate. I wanted to read an article about that. This isn't very good, is it? What are we saying? King Charles is going to give up a lease on a country estate in Wales. Who cares? Have they not got like all of the houses in the country, like, or something? I mean, like, who cares about their sort of affairs? I mean, it is news, and everyone cares. We subsidise them as taxpayers, so I guess everybody cares. But it's like non-news. It's like, you know, Emma Watson got seen with a guy who had sort of Harry Potter glasses, and that makes for a good journalistic story. You know, like the media will pick up on that and they'll go, oh, that's interesting. Like I read some stuff here that isn't really very interesting. I'm not trying to be anything other than, I'm just keeping a vlog because it helps. It's just kind of like a hobby thing. I don't even really like it. I can't even really be asked, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it, and I'm sure there's some people that watch it, and at some point someone might watch it back, and it will keep an account of my life. And if I give one, this is 22 minutes, so I've got to wrap it up. Elon Musk, Twitter snaps up top NBCU Universal executive. That's good. There's a picture of him. It's quite an artistic picture of Elon there. I don't know who this top NBC Universal executive is. I'm not going to read the article, so we're already 22 minutes long. I'm not going to read any more articles. I can't think of any good ones. 10 greatest performances. Good actors, Goodfellas, Mr. Murphy, Leonardo DiCaprio. No. No, there's no more good. There's no more good articles. I can't find any. The secret cameo of John Wayne in Star Wars. Must be fucking joking. I haven't got time. I haven't got time, people. I'd like to play some music, but I almost got fucked for copyright before. But like playing music in and out would be quite nice. I'd quite like that. Thanks very much for joining me on today's episode. You can see a closer look at my ugliness here and develop a fine-tuned dislike for me. Alternatively, join me next time, tomorrow, for more of the same. Thank you, and all the best.